Let me ask you something real. How many men walk through life believing the key to attraction is money, looks, or being charming? It's a story we've been sold for years. Dress better, flash some cash, say the right lines. But what if I told you none of that truly matters? Because women, just like men, are driven by subconscious triggers they often don't even realize. Emotional reflexes, deep psychological patterns, quiet weaknesses hidden beneath confidence and words. And here's the problem. Most men have no idea how to recognize those patterns, let alone use them to build genuine connection and attraction. We keep trying to impress when what really matters is understanding. This video isn't about pickup lines or cheap tricks. It's about insight, control, self-awareness. We're diving into 12 hidden psychological weak points, not to manipulate, but to understand what makes women feel safe, drawn in, and emotionally alive in your presence. When you know these truths, and more importantly, when you embody the strength behind them, everything changes. So if you're tired of chasing and ready to become the kind of man women are naturally pulled toward, then stay with me, because what you're about to learn might just flip the script forever. Let's get one thing clear. Women aren't attracted to chaos. They might tolerate it for a while, but deep down what they crave isn't drama. It's emotional safety. Think about it. In a world full of unpredictability, most women are silently searching for a man who's unshaken. A man who can remain calm when life gets loud. Who doesn't panic under pressure. Who doesn't spiral just because things get hard. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being anchored, because here's the truth. If she feels like she has to stabilize you emotionally, the roles have already reversed. She becomes the grounded one, and you, the fragile one. And nothing kills attraction faster than that. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to become a man who doesn't flinch at the storm. When she's upset, you breathe. When life throws punches, you stay grounded. That's stoic confidence. Not cold, but composed. And ironically, the less you react emotionally, the more she'll open up emotionally. Because now she's in the presence of someone she can trust. Someone solid. If you want to be the kind of man a woman leans into, not leans away from, start by mastering your emotional state. That's not weakness, that's strength she can feel. Here's a harsh truth most men don't want to hear. The more available you are, the less attractive you become. It's not because women are cruel or like playing games. It's because human nature is wired to crave what's rare. Think about it. Diamonds, limited edition sneakers, VIP access. Why do they have value? Because not everyone can have them. The same principle applies in dating. If you're always texting back instantly, always saying yes, always pouring your attention out like it's endless, she'll start seeing you as predictable, comfortable, even replaceable. But when you create a sense of distance, of mystery, something powerful happens. She starts thinking about you when you're not around. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, why you're not chasing. That curiosity becomes desire. So what's the move? Live a full life, one that doesn't revolve around her. Be kind but not clingy. Be present but not predictable. Reveal yourself slowly, like a story worth reading, not a headline she already knows. Because when she feels like she hasn't completely figured you out, she stays intrigued. She leans in. And that's the paradox. When you're not always available, you become unforgettable. 4. Before you even say a word, she's already decided something about you, not based on what you say, but how you carry yourself. Your presence is speaking long before your mouth ever opens. And when it finally does, your voice seals the impression. Here's the truth. A calm, deep, deliberate voice doesn't just sound good. It signals strength, confidence, leadership. From an evolutionary lens, it reflects high testosterone, stability, and control. All traits women are wired to respond to on a level they don't even fully realize. But it's not just the voice. It's the way you walk into a room without rushing, the way your eyes stay steady, not darting around nervously, the way you move with purpose, not fidgeting or apologizing with your body language. That is presence, and presence is magnetic. Weak presence whispers insecurity. Strong presence says, I don't need to prove anything. I already know who I am. So stand tall, speak slowly, breathe deeply. Let your energy do the talking before your words even arrive. Because when a man moves with quiet certainty, people listen. And when women feel that kind of grounded presence, they remember it. You don't need to shout to be heard. Master your presence, and the room will listen in silence. Here's something most men don't realize. One of a woman's deepest emotional triggers is the fear of losing a man who doesn't fear losing her. We've been conditioned to believe that holding on tightly shows love. But sometimes the most powerful move isn't to hold on, it's to let go. When a man can walk away, calmly, without begging, without bitterness, he sends a message louder than any words. I want you, but I don't need you. And that's rare. Most guys panic when she pulls away. They chase. They over-explain. They try to fix things out of fear. But what does that actually communicate? That you need her more than she needs you. And the second she senses that, attraction fades. But the man who walks away on his own terms, he becomes unforgettable. He shows self-respect, boundaries, strength. He's not bluffing. He's simply centered. And paradoxically, the moment you stop chasing is the moment she starts rethinking everything. Not because you manipulated her, but because you reminded her of your value and proved you're strong enough to walk if needed. So ask yourself, are you the kind of man who stays at any cost, or the one who knows when to walk away with your dignity intact? Here's a truth that flips the script. A man with a mission is irresistible, not because of his looks, not because of money, but because he's moving towards something greater than himself. And she can feel it. See, most men make the same mistake. They put her at the center of their world. They drop everything for a reply. They rearrange their schedule to prove they're available. And while it sounds romantic, it's not attractive. Because deep down, no woman wants to be your purpose. She wants to join a man who already has one. Purpose creates direction, focus, fire. And when a man is deeply locked into his vision, whether it's building a business, mastering a craft, or simply growing as a man, he radiates something rare, intentional energy. He's not waiting around for attention. He's not texting wide at midnight out of boredom. He's busy becoming, and that makes him magnetic. So the question is simple. What are you building that's bigger than her? Because when your life has direction, she won't want to be the destination. She'll want to be part of the journey. And that's when the dynamic changes. From chasing her to having her choose you, because your purpose makes you unforgettable. Let's talk about something most men get completely wrong. Vulnerability. You've probably heard that women want a man who's open, emotional, expressive. But here's the catch. Too much vulnerability, too soon, it doesn't create connection. It kills attraction. Because there's a fine line between being open and being unstable. If you never share anything, she sees you as cold, distant, hard to reach. But if you share everything, your pain, your insecurities, your emotional weight, you stop being strong in her eyes and start being a burden. Women don't want to feel like your therapist. They want to feel like they've earned access to your inner world. So what's the Stoic approach? Reveal, but don't unload. Share your battles, but only once you've conquered them. Talk about your pain, but do it from a place of strength, not need. It's not about hiding. It's about pacing, timing, control. And when you open up that way, calmly, selectively, with intention, she doesn't see weakness. She sees depth, mystery, power. Because real vulnerability isn't dumping emotion, it's showing you've mastered it. So the next time you're tempted to spill it all, pause, breathe, and remember, your story has more value when it's told with strength, not desperation. Here's a reality most men don't like facing. Women will test you, not because they're cruel, but because they're wired to. It's not a game. It's not manipulation. It's instinct. She might challenge your opinion just to see if you stand firm. She might pull back emotionally to see if you chase. She might act like she doesn't care to see if you still do. And here's the mistake most men make. They react, they panic, they argue. And in doing so, they fail the test. But a stoic man, he sees it for what it is, a moment, not a threat. When you stay calm, when you hold your frame, when you don't get defensive, insecure, or emotional, she doesn't just notice. She feels safe. She respects you because whether she knows it or not, she's asking one question. Can you hold steady when things get shaky? And if the answer is yes, if you stay grounded, composed, and true to yourself, you pass the test. Remember this, women only test the men they're drawn to. It's not a rejection, it's a challenge. And when you meet it with quiet confidence, you become the kind of man she doesn't want to let go. Let's be honest, rejection stings, but only if you tie your worth to someone else's approval. See, most men live in fear of that one moment, the ignored text, the "I'm not interested," the slow fade into silence. But here's the truth. Rejection doesn't define you. How you respond to it does. When a man gets turned down and still walks away with a smile, still says, "No problem, all the best," and genuinely means it, that's power most people don't understand. Because that moment, that's when you show her and the world that your value is not negotiable. Desperate men chase after every no, trying to convince, explain, plead. Confident men, they respect themselves too much to beg. And ironically, that mindset is what makes them more attractive. Because a man who doesn't fear rejection is a man who doesn't fear himself. He knows rejection isn't failure, it's feedback, it's redirection. So the next time you hear no, smile, nod, walk away. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough about yourself to keep moving forward. That's unshakable confidence. And trust me, she'll remember it. Here's something that's hard for most men to accept. The more predictable you are, the less powerful your presence becomes. See, if a woman always knows how you feel, if you respond to every message instantly, if you constantly reassure her, overexpress, overexplain, there's nothing left to discover. And when there's nothing to discover, there's nothing left to chase. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding desire. Curiosity fuels attraction. Mystery keeps it alive. Think about it. When was the last time you were truly captivated by something you fully understood on day one? You weren't, because value often lies behind effort, behind gradual revelation. So what does this look like in real life? It means having a life so full, you don't jump at every notification. It means revealing your emotions selectively, not as a wall, but as a filter. It means letting her earn access to the deeper layers of who you are. Because when you become an open book from page one, she'll stop reading. But when every page reveals something she didn't expect, she'll never put you down. Be real, be present, but never be fully predictable. Leave a little wonder. That's what makes you unforgettable. Let's get real. Most men are slaves to their desires. They chase every pretty face. They sacrifice focus for pleasure. They let impulse dictate direction, and then wonder why they feel powerless. But the men who truly stand out, who captivate without even trying, are the ones who've learned the rare art of self-control. Because here's the truth, attraction isn't about chasing, it's about choosing. And when a man can say no, no to instant gratification, no to cheap validation, no to distractions that pull him off his path, he becomes rare, magnetic, respected. Women feel it. They sense when a man isn't led by lust but by mission, when he doesn't need intimacy to feel worthy because he already walks in purpose. It's not about being cold or detached. It's about being so locked in on what matters most that nothing and no one can pull you off track. So ask yourself, are you chasing dopamine or are you chasing destiny? Because the man who masters his desires isn't just attractive. He's unstoppable. Control your urges. Sharpen your focus. Let your discipline speak louder than your hunger. That's real power, and trust me, she'll feel it. Let's talk about a different kind of mystery, the kind that doesn't come from silence, but from emotional depth. Here's what most men miss. The more easily you give away your heart, the less valuable it seems. Now, I'm not saying be cold or detached, but if you're always pouring out your emotions, sharing every thought, every fear, every feeling, without pause, something gets lost. She doesn't feel special for hearing it, because it didn't take anything to earn it. But when a man is emotionally composed, when he keeps parts of himself guarded, measured, intentional, it creates gravity. She feels it. She leans in, wondering what's behind that calm. And if over time you begin to let her in, not out of need, but out of trust, that moment becomes unforgettable. Because now, she's not just another listener. She's someone you chose to open up to. And that makes her feel seen, respected, chosen. So ask yourself, are your emotions something you hand out or something someone has to earn? The truth is, emotional control isn't about shutting down. It's about knowing that your inner world has value, and not everyone gets a free pass to enter. And that is exactly why she won't stop thinking about you. You don't have to be loud to lead. You don't need a title, a speech, or a stage. Real leadership, the kind that draws women in, doesn't come from control. It comes from presence. There's a certain type of man who never raises his voice, yet somehow, people listen. He doesn't bark orders. He makes quiet decisions. He doesn't need to prove he's in charge. He just lives like a man who's in control of himself. That's the kind of energy women gravitate toward. It's not dominance. It's direction. She doesn't want to be told what to do. But she does want to feel like she's walking beside a man who knows where he's going. You don't ask, so, what do you want to do tonight? You say, we're checking out that new place downtown at 7. You'll love it. You don't wait for approval to take action. You move first with intention. And that confidence, it invites others to follow, not because they have to, but because they want to. So if you're trying to lead her, stop. Lead yourself. Because the man who commands his own world doesn't need to demand anything. He becomes someone she naturally trusts, someone she quietly follows, someone who leads without saying a word. Let's wrap this up with something most men never hear. Attraction isn't a skill set. It's a mindset. It's not about learning pickup lines or playing games. It's about becoming a man who doesn't need them. Because women aren't drawn to tricks. They're drawn to truth, to something solid, rare, and grounded. You don't need to impress her with flash. You need to impress yourself with discipline, with emotional control, with purpose, with the quiet strength that says, I don't chase validation, I build value. And the irony, the less you seek approval, the more magnetic you become. Because now you're not just another man trying to win her over. You're the man who doesn't flinch under pressure, who walks with direction, who speaks with weight, who knows his worth, whether anyone else sees it or not. So if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. You don't attract her by chasing her. You attract her by becoming the man she can't ignore. Stay strong, stay grounded, and never chase.